Oh, son, what's good, my boy? Today we're going to be talking about how powerful this fucking cranium you got up here actually is. Everyone talks about being so powerless to your brain and all these emotions and depressions and bullshit nowadays. You got the suicide rates going up through the roof. You got the depression and everybody on antidepressants. You had people for a whole year forced to be inside their homes and not interact with people and all sorts of bullshit. And it's all culminated into now, where people are just addicted to constant pleasures of dopamine to just numb their brain, constant pleasures of drugs and alcohol and just hedonism because they can't handle what's up here and they choose not to take advantage of what's up there. So, in this, we're going to be talking about two different ways of how powerful your mind is. First off, we're talking about how you can control this mind in the suffering and how suffering is natural and how you can use your mind to find meaning in the suffering. And the second part is we're going to be talking about how you can use your mind to actually change your perspective on what you believe is possible in this world, what you believe you can accomplish, what innovations you can bring, different things to different degrees. So, there's 4 books we're going to be talking about at first. The first one is The Myth of Sisyphus. The second one is Never Finished by David Goggins. The third one is Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning. And the fourth one is The Millionaire Fast Lane. Now I might have just lost fucking half the viewers because they just thought I just put up a bunch of gay, cringy self-help books. But I'm going to go ahead and categorize them. We got the Sisyphus and we got Man's Search for Meaning. I guess I would categorize these as kind of philosophy books. There's some philosophical elements to them. Then we got Never Finished by David Goggins. People would put this in as like a motivational self-help book. Then we got The Millionaire Fast Lane. People would just write this off as like some guru faggot shit that some guy wrote to get rich off of. So, let's start with these 2 puppies. Now, they all tie together. These 3 tie together more than anything. But the first one we're going over is Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning. Now, if you've never read this book and you're like, who the fuck, and I didn't lose you because you thought it was cringe, let me go ahead and explain to you what this book is. There was a man during the Holocaust who was a Jewish psychiatrist, and he was put into numerous concentration camps and went all throughout them. And he observed his experience through that and developed a way of thinking to find meaning and purpose despite being in a concentration camp, despite seeing his fellow prisoners turn to cannibalism, fucking kill themselves, starve to death, skin and bones. You've all seen the pictures of the Holocaust. Some people don't believe it's real. This ain't none of that bullshit. Today we're just talking about the contents in this book and what to take away from it. So far, he gives this account of this terrible experience that most normal people would be like, what the fuck, bro? Like, what? Like, God, how do you even write a book after all that shit, let alone function? People nowadays would be like, oh, I got PTSD, oh, I can't handle it, oh, fuck. That's how people would be like nowadays. Give me my antidepressants, I can't handle this shit, I'm going on government assistance, That's how most people would handle it. But this motherfucker was like, you know what? I went through all this bullshit, so I'm going to explain to the world how I dealt with it and leave a positive impact. Premise of this whole book. See all this crazy shit. Experience something terrible. What is his takeaway? Viktor Frankl's takeaway in this book is that, alright, you're in the fucking concentration camp. You're not going to control what you eat. You're not going to control the guards. You're not going to control your freedom to be able to move throughout. All of your freedoms, per se, have been taken away. But what is man's last true freedom? What he believes up here. What goes on up in his fucking noggin. What's seething up there? Is he going to sit there and be like, all hope is lost, fuck, man, give me the pills, I'm chill? No. He's going to sit there and be like, alright, dog. We're going to get through this shit. We're going to fucking get through this shit. Start finding beauty in small things. Rose through the concrete type shit. You see a bunch of shit, piss, and mud, but there's a fucking flower growing in it. You start looking for little beautiful things. You start controlling what's up here to your environment. You can't control all this, but you can control this. That's what this book delivers. It's very good. I recommend it. I'm not going to give it a fucking rating or anything like that, but it's good. It's very good read. It's better than this fucking Tim Ferriss bullshit that I shot 3 bullet holes through in one of my last videos. Next, we have The Myth of Sisyphus. Now, Camus, I don't really know what era. I guess it'd be like early 20th century, like 1900s, or no, it might have even been 1800s. I'm not too educated on Camus. But from this book, it explains how absurd life is. This life around us is absurd. Babies die, children, fucking people drown to death. I'm on the fire department. I saw a kid drown 2 months ago. It is the craziest shit that I'd ever seen. It didn't really hit me then, but I've been contemplating it slowly, because when you see some death of a kid, it's some shit that lingers with you for a while. But he talks about how absurd this life is. You never know. We're all waiting for death. Meaningless. All these fucking atheist ideologies that people believe. And he explains it through this tale. He explains how to deal with it through this old Greek myth of Sisyphus. Now, Sisyphus was this man who was destined. It's a myth, but he was destined to push a rock up a hill, and at the end of every day, it would roll back down. And he'd have to push it back up the next day, and at the end of the day, it would roll back down. In a perpetual loop for his whole life. It's supposed to symbolize, life is just one big, it's supposed to symbolize that shit. So, Camus uses this analogy of Sisyphus, the cursed guy, to illustrate how absurd our life is. He says, you go through your schedule, you go through all this monotonous bullshit over and over and over and over again. It's just absurd, there's no point. And then you're met with more and more increased challenges and suffering throughout the day. What Camus says is that despite all this suffering that his explanation of Sisyphus occurs, we must imagine him happy at the end of it, so we internally can be happy. And through us imagining him happy in his suffering, we can kind of take away a little bit of our own existence and find the meaning in it. He also explains kind of, once you accept that life has no meaning or purpose or whatever, that it takes away that suffering's bite. There's like freedom in and believing the meaningless, all this shit. In all, I really liked the book Myth of Sisyphus. Camus is, like, in my opinion, his writing is very hard to read. I have like the reading level of like a fucking second grader. But he's very nihilistic. Like me, Christ is king, my boy. I believe in the Bible, that type of thing. And this is very nihilistic. I like to let my viewpoints wander. I like to challenge my faith so I can build a stronger faith, if you will. But the Myth of Sisyphus is very nihilistic. He's very atheist as well. I would like to believe he's atheist. I mean, the way he describes the world, there is no reminiscences of, well, I'll go to heaven after this, dude. It's kind of like, this is just all fucking suffering and we got to deal with it. So it's that kind of deal. But it does, if you find the Bible silly, like a lot of people seem to do, and you have a hard time with faith, which Christ is king, I believe in the Bible, I believe in God. Not all of the Bible, but I believe in God and Jesus. But if you do not agree with the Bible, but you still search for a meaning in life, this is a good start. Now we're going to get into my fucking territory of this big dog shit, boy. Chest up, shoulders back, spread the lats type shit. David Goggins. I got the other book in the other room, but this is the one I've read most recently. And boy, does David Goggins deliver. I'd like to say this is the motherfucking modern day philosopher out of this shit. For what David Goggins puts into words, it's almost the equivalent, in my opinion, of Camus. But he's more modern, and he has such a way of connecting with you through suffering and his experiences, and it's all this modern shit. compared to these two, which I've never been in a concentration camp, and I don't really idealistically align with Camus. But David Goggins kind of has this similar message. Suffering is a natural occurrence in life, over and over and over. And people, he claims that people, which I also have this belief, tend to just border straight into comfort and just hedonism and just try to be chill and it's all free, dude. We're all free and positive. You're suffering. That's weird. That's cringe. What the fuck? Why are you doing that? That's the way a lot of people believe nowadays. But what David Goggins preaches is a way of living that's opposite, extreme. It's the extreme opposite of that. Putting yourself in as much discomfort as you possibly can to learn about yourself and the suffering. He preaches this thing that you don't learn in yourself. You don't learn about yourself and develop your brain in comfort whenever you're numbing it and putting a screen over the inflooding thoughts in your brain. He preaches that whenever you lay in comfort, it's like you're just putting a piece of tape over a hole that all your thoughts are coming from, and it's just blocking it out, But what he thinks, reveal that fucking tape, pull that tape back, dig a fucking deeper hole and let it pour in. Let all that shit culminate in your brain and learn. Think about the things you do. Do you run and you fucking give up? What made you give up? Challenge yourself. That is the whole philosophy of David Goggins, in that you will find peace in the suffering. And it makes sense. Everything human beings have done has led us to this realization that suffering is not a bad thing. You want to learn any skill, there is a cadence of suffering in the beginning. You want to do anything that is foreign to you that you do not do. You don't go and you should go and sing karaoke for this first time. You go and run a marathon for the first time. You go to the gym for the first time as a fat person. You go on a diet as a fat person. You start reading a book and you never fucking read before and you don't like reading. It's all a tad bit of suffering, and you gotta push through it and you get to the fucking blue skies on the other side. So that's David Goggins. I can summarize his up pretty well with all a bunch of pauses and bullshit because I understand it so well, and I love these books. These are more than cringy self-help books. These are a fucking gospel that you can live by. Rest my case. Now we're on to the most controversial of the four, The Millionaire Fast Lane. I bought this book 2 years ago whenever I was real deep into the desperation of self-help. I wanted a way out. I can't deal with being broke. All this message these people push to you whenever you just you just having a bad day, and they start pushing all this shit about how you're not happy because of where you're at. Just some bullshit, which I don't agree with. I agree with a lot of the messages of self-improvement. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do all these bad habits, none of that shit. But this, a lot of people would write off as just some gimmicky guru self-help book. And it touches into that second way I was talking about, that your mind is powerful, is the mindset of belief. The mindset of being able to visualize gigantic goals for yourself and going after them. Steve Harvey, whenever he was asked in an interview what are his 2 biggest books that he would recommend, it wasn't any fucking philosophy book. It wasn't the Bible. It wasn't any of this. It was 2 books talking about, I think, if I can remember off the top of my head, it was The Power of Thinking Big and The Power of Positive Thinking, which both tie together. These will help you with the positive thinking part. These will help you with the meaning and having peace and serenity and all that, as well as the big dog right here will help you with that as well. I think this is a bigger shortcut than those, but these are fun. This is the power of thinking big type. This is what he was talking about whenever he mentioned the power of thinking big. It is breaking through this glass ceiling of what you have been conditioned by society, your environment, and the area you've grown up to imagine as possible. You think fucking Steve Jobs was sitting there in his garage telling himself, you know what, man, I can't do this shit. This is fucking... you really think... Looking in the mirror. You imagine Steve Jobs looking in the mirror being like, you can't fucking do this shit. You're not gonna do this. Who the fuck you think you are? Look at you, you fat fuck. You think he was doing that? No. Steve Jobs has a whole arc once he got like old, that he went to India and got enlightened with all this meditation and empowerment and shit. Steve Jobs was not sitting there degrading himself. Steve Jobs was climbing the fucking ladder of his ceiling in his brain to see how far up can my innovation and aspirations go to. What's the fucking ceiling? Let me see. That's what he was doing. That's what these types of books will. Not all of. Obviously, I shot this one with a 45 and 2 shotgun shells because I think it's bullshit. I don't agree with the sentiments, and I feel like it was very snake oil salesman-like. But this one, as well as a couple, there's numerous other ones. I'm not here to give you a fucking gigantic book list, but they truly they truly crack the code. They truly break that glass ceiling of what you can truly imagine is possible for yourself. I started off by, alright dog, I just want to lose a little bit of weight. Lost over 100 pounds. Then after that, I was like, alright dog, I want to like get happy. I'm the happiest I've ever fucking been now. I went through 2 years of bullshit and hell and suffering, and I finally got to, I'm not a Zen monk of enlightenment, but I'd like to say I have 10 times less bad days than I do good days now. There's hardly ever a time where I don't meet someone with enthusiasm in the regular world. Nod at them, smile at them. How you doing, dog? What you up to? That type of shit. Before it was like that. That was my normal face. But now it's like I can actually walk through there with some happiness, some joy, some pride. And that was all brought through me through breaking these ceilings. Now there's levels to them. You got to keep breaking through them. But it's like, if I have this Genghis Khan sense of ambition and I want to accomplish things that not leave a footprint, because I don't believe in that, but help others as well as inspire millions of people, then I believe that would be one of the goals of mine. So, we got controlling your mind through conquering this meaning and suffering, and also controlling what you believe is possible and what you can imagine in your mind. Because truly, whenever you think that ladder of thinking big that I mentioned, you go and look at any person of significance that has achieved something that most people marvel at. A Kanye West, a David Goggins, a Joe Rogan, one of these people, a Casey Neistat, a fucking Denzel Washington, a Brad Pitt, any of these people at like monstrous levels of fame, money, all this shit, as well as pride in themselves, because you can hear it when they speak. Watch their interviews. What do they say? Oh man, I don't even know how I got here, dude. I was just thinking like, I'm a fucking loser and I never... No! Watch Kanye West. He's like, my mama told me I could do fucking anything. Like, that's the problem with most people, is their parents give them this image of comfortable, because kids and parents fight a lot because the parents want well for the kids in a majority. The parents want a safe well-being for the kids. But the kids sometimes have all these dreams and aspirations, and the parents want them to be happy and want them to be successful, but know that chasing after those dreams has a chance of fucking up. So they embed their beliefs on them to chase after their idea of your life as their child. But you have to break through those ceilings, dog. And I believe a true rule of parenting would be to encourage it, besides all the physical like punishment and treatment and all this shit. I believe one of the best attributes a parent could have with their children is destroying that barrier and glass ceiling of what you would believe imaginable in your brain very early on. So, we've covered the majority of the topic in this video. Now I'm going to give you a couple tips on, or tools, if you will, to accomplish what I've given you. The first one is meditation. If you want to learn how to meditate, go to my 2 videos ago. I gave a 5-minute, super short video on meditation, transcendental meditation, a little conversation on the 2, and then a quick guide, because all you need is a quick guide to start learning how to do it. So, meditation. Next one is, in this generation of noise and buzz and phones and social media, limit the noise. This brain is a pathway to something that we do not understand. All the creative thoughts, all the thoughts in general come from somewhere that we have not identified. But limit the noise, because the more noise you have, the more you're silencing all these thoughts and ideas and innovations in your brain. Limit the noise. Embrace a little bit of boredom. Embrace a little bit of different things. Now the next thing is reading. I've recently and in the past seen a lot of clips from like an Andrew Tate, which I kind of like. I respect some of his opinions. I think he goes about it a little weird. But him and his brother both have made points on reading how it's just entertainment and a waste of time. Which, if you're realistic about it, and you go purely off the action point, it is. It is kind of a distraction at the end of the day. If I was put on an island to survive and given a book and a box of matches, it would be foolish for me to start reading a fucking book for 3 hours instead of starting the fire before the sun goes down and looking for food. But we're not on a fucking island. We have free time. As long as you are gathering good skills in this life, then I believe you should award yourself with a little bit of free time that can also be very educational. I believe there's lots of insight, lots of, oh, I got it moments that you can get from books. And just like through storytelling with the mouth, that's all these books are doing, is they're giving you a general premise, a general lesson, but they give you lots of stories and lots of tangible and they tie lots of things to it to give you a full picture and a lot of context to understand their points. And you could truly gain some great insight, a great vernacular. Just books are good. All the way until I was 18 years old, thought books were gay. I was like, that shit's gay as fuck. I remember the only time I'd ever enjoyed reading was in like 3rd grade. We were reading a book called Maniac Magee. A group reading. Teacher was reading it. And it was so interesting. I was just flowing. After she stopped reading the book, it was like an hour in. I just kept fucking reading it. I didn't listen to the lesson. I wanted to know what the fuck happened to him. Did he get his shoes? The little girl? I haven't read the book in a while, but I just remember that so vividly because how impactful that book was. Just as much as the best movie I've ever seen. So books can be very entertaining. And I've always kept that memory in my mind. And it always intrigued me with books, even though the times that I thought they were gay. And then I eventually gave them a try, and now I got a big-ass library and a bunch of books that I got a fucking house somewhere. So, we got meditation, limiting all the noise and distractions from online and anything that requires electricity. Reading. And 4th, I would like to recommend an artistic outlet. I have several. I practice my music, practice these videos. Sometimes I add a little bit of cool creativeness to them. I'm a general contractor. I build structures and cool things for people's houses. I do oil painting. There's a million different creative outlets out there. You find yourself something where you can channel this creativity in your mind into something, and it'll also give an additional meaning to life. Now, this video has gone on long enough. I've given you the tools. I've given you the insight. Take it and make something out of it, and let's all grow and prosper. Chase paper and enjoy natural sun, and have a great fucking day.